Hey everyone, I'd like to welcome you to episode 4 of the Own Your Spine podcast. And in this podcast, I'm going to be talking to Liz Jones, the owner of the Jellyfish Float Spa here in Winnipeg. Now, Liz provides a unique service called flotation therapy. Another term for that is restricted environmental stimulation technique, or REST. REST is a form of sensory deprivation. At Liz's office, she has a tank that you walk into that's filled with water. Enough water that you can lay down in. And because it's filled with saline water, including magnesium, you'll float. Now, this tank closes off to the outside world, so there's no light and no sound, though you do have some control over some of that. And during your time, you have an opportunity to remove yourself from all sensory stimulations. That's flotation therapy. Now, let's listen to the interview with Liz Jones. Hey, Liz, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've known you for actually quite some time.
Yeah, a
Uh,
long time since
uh,
the CrossFit competitions.
that's right. That's where we met, and then we had a little stint where we were going to do some a business group along with those that were
Yeah,
across CrossFit Winnipeg, but that
yeah.
never
It's too bad
quite
that didn't work out.
got. No, when you get the right mix, you get a good network of people, and that's part of this podcast is an opportunity to network and get to know others in Winnipeg who are in the healthcare or health
Yeah,
business.
yeah.
All
That's
right, so let's
amazing.
let's talk about your business.
Okay.
And so you own Jellyfish Float Spa.
Yeah.
How long you guys been around?
We started our business about 10 years ago and then 8 years at this location. Time
Oh,
flies.
where were you before that?
In our house. So
Oh,
we run it
okay.
from our
So
basement
so tell me about it. So you're located where?
on 894 St. Mary's Road in
Excellent,
Simmental.
excellent.
Yeah.
And now you got to tell me, you started your business at home.
Yeah.
Why did you start the business?
Um, well, because it really wasn't in the city yet, floating. Um,
Okay, yeah,
and we just, it's expensive to start your own shop, right? So we just thought
right.
we'd run it from our house for a year, or just run it from there forever. We had really
Okay,
no huge plans of opening a commercial space. And then we met a medical doctor at a wellness expo, and he was like gung ho. He was just like, "Let's get this going. Let's start." And we just got swept up in it, and then we opened this place. So kind of just
oh,
stream of events took us here.
so what drew you to the float spa?
We actually watched a YouTube video back in
Hmm.
2013, and I thought this was amazing. Not only for like the pain management, the sleeping, but also the mind reprogramming, habit reformatting, that kind of thing. That's what really got me. So almost everyone in my immediate family has some kind of chronic pain condition.
Okay,
Yeah, so I was like, hey, it could help them, and then I wanted to use it for um, like habit changes, de-stressing, that kind of thing. So I did a lot of like hypnosis in the pod initially and stuff like that. So it was quite
okay.
healing.
I actually did read some stuff about the habit changing.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, there's some research been done on smoking,
Yep.
alcoholism,
Yeah. Lots of
and
addiction.
yeah. So it was, and weight loss was
Yeah.
another one that they found that there may be some benefit in that. That's kind of neat. I didn't expect to find that when I was trying to learn about this.
Yeah. It's
Um,
actually pretty effective in all of those things because your cortisol level goes down, like your stress hormone goes down, and then you can make
right,
smarter choices because you're not so stressed.
right,
Basically,
right.
it's a very basic overview.
Right, right. And, I
Yeah.
think there were a few other things that I've read too. Yes, you mentioned sleep. To me, that's an exceptionally important thing to improve for people.
Yeah.
Obviously, for athletes, when they want to improve their sleep, it's great for recovery. A
Yes.
lot of my patients, when they don't sleep well, their pain tends to be more intense and tends to be more of a problem.
Yeah.
And when you do hurt and you're tired, it's only more frustrating.
Yep.
So to improve sleep, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you also, I think we also mentioned about stress and anxiety.
Hmm.
Uh, that's another one. And that's another one when it comes to pain. People with headaches, tension headaches, and that sort
Yeah.
of thing. So
Yeah.
that's great. Great.
Yeah. The really
Do you sleep?
interesting thing with the sleep part, though, is that when your people are in pain and they're sleeping on their mattress and they get all those pressure points and they always have to be moving
Mhm.
around because they wake up because they're in so much pain. There's no pressure
Yep.
points in the pod, so you're
Oh,
able to
that makes
actually
sense.
like fall asleep with nothing waking you up because there's no pressure points. There's no pressure on your body hurting you. That feels really good.
Okay. How many pods do you have?
Two. We have two.
Oh, right. Okay. And how big are they?
They are about the size of a mid-sized car cabin. So think like
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, they're huge. I can fully stretch out always.
And you said you have Epsom salt, so that's what you use in the tubs. Okay.
Yeah.
And so how do you keep this keep the area clean?
So we have to use sanitizer at the end of every day. So we do have to
Okay.
clean the water. Yeah. And then the water, when someone's not floating in there, it filters through like a micron filter and an ozone filter and a UV filter. So plus with
Oh,
the
okay.
1,000 pounds of Epsom salt, it really limits the amount of things that can actually happen in there. So
And so when you go into these into the tank, you get closed in,
mhm.
and you're floating there. And I'm imagining it's dark, right? There's nothing going on, right?
Well, you can have access to the light. So some people like the light and the music just to like ease them into a complete sensory deprivation environment, which is very helpful.
Okay.
So sometimes like
Okay.
a few minutes of
Yeah.
music at the beginning and the light is helpful. But
Okay. And then
essentially
does that is it programmed to turn off, or is it does it, or can you keep it on that whole time?
the light, you can turn it off in there. So you have access to the light.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody who's claustrophobic when you want to try this, how do you
We have a
manage
lot of
to
people who come in who are claustrophobic.
yeah?
A lot of
And
people.
and and and, and how do they how do you ease them into that situation? Because I'm sure that would be a little bit difficult for somebody who says, "Hey, I really want to try this, but I'm kind of nervous in closed spaces."
Yeah. A lot of people imagine a tanning bed. So
Okay,
they feel nervous because they think it's a tanning bed. But once you are in the room and you see how large the pot is, it takes up the entire space. And then they're just like,
right,
"Oh, I'll be fine," you know.
got it.
And once you're in there, I mean, so I can't even touch the ceiling when I'm lying down. I can
So
walk
it's
by
not
the
as closed off.
couch.
It's not as closed off as you feel.
No, it's so big. So
Okay,
mostly after people see it, there's no problem.
gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
So if somebody is so take me through a session. Like the person comes in,
Hmm.
what goes on? How do
We
you
like
set everything up?
we greet them at the door. They fill in some paperwork, and then we
Okay,
take them into the room, and I go through all of the steps. So the like put the earplugs in. They shower before they get in. Every room has its own private shower, so the room is completely yours. And then they
okay,
go. I open the door. I kind of explain how to float, best positions to float in, where the light is, the headrest. If you get that salt water in your face, what to do if that happens, because that's terrible.
okay.
And then like what to do after. So you just get out of the pod and then you shower, stuff like that. Just like a basic orientation, and then I answer any of the questions they might have.
Okay. What are typical questions that people ask?
Different ways to float, and then also I kind of go through ways to relax your muscles. So a lot of people carry their tension in their neck and their shoulders.
Hmm.
So when you're trying to trust the water and relax everything, it does take a little bit of time. So if you float with your hands behind your head as like a little hammock for your head, it lets you have control over how fast you relax. So at first, if you're just like, oh, you're so stressed that you just close your hands, put it behind your head, and as you start feeling your muscles relax and that you can trust the water to fully support you, you just kind of let them float out. It's actually quite a nice process.
Okay. Are there
Um,
any are there any misconceptions about float spas?
yeah, so some of the fun ones are I had a person come in the other day and he said, I have watched too much sci fi movies. I was hoping for some kind of a different
Mhm.
experience on his first float. And I was like, well, you're not going to turn into some kind of animal because that was a popular when he came out of that float pod and he was a monkey or an ape.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was a good one. Um, or yeah, people want to have like this intense visual experience on their first time floating. It takes a little bit of it can take a little bit more time.
Oh, they people have visual experiences with it, eh?
Yeah, visual or
Do
audio. Sorry.
Okay, that was my next question. Yeah, I was gonna say, do they have audio as well?
Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. So, like, I'm curious more about the audio part. What types of experiences do they get?
it really depends on the person.
Mhm.
I don't remember anything specifically off the top of my head, but I remember I was in there one time and I heard personally the sound of an airplane pilot talking over the thing.
Okay.
It was weird. It just sounded exactly like the pilot on a plane, like the over the
Oh,
speaker.
interesting.
Yeah. I've had a lot more just internal visual journeys than I have
Yeah.
had audio. But I've
Okay.
had a lot more of those.
So tell me about those.
Um, so so when I came back from a craniosacral trip where I was learning my somato emotional release 2 training,
Okay.
I had come back and there was a lot of stuff that happened, and we were doing completion of um, like if what was it called? Completion of life processes was one of the training things. So like if
Okay.
you gave birth the way you didn't feel like you wanted to, or you're a child, your birthing wasn't great, or just things like this, right? Like, um, so I came back from that class just completely. I felt like I was torn in half, and then it needed to be like velcroed back together, and I couldn't figure out how to do that. Have you ever had that kind of experience?
I haven't.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
me, no,
Well,
sorry.
I just felt like it was a really intense 4 days, a lot of like healing from trauma and trying to figure out what exactly was happening. Anyway, I got into the pod and I was just like, you know what? I didn't really love the way my son was born. I'm gonna try and go through these techniques and heal that memory, right? Heal that trauma because after I had him, I was just like, no more, never, never again. So I did that, and it was quite intense. I had a lot of healing from the epidurals because I had 4 of them before they got it properly done, and I kept being sent home from the hospital 4 times, and it was like 3 days of labor. So it was just really, really intense. And I was like, I'm gonna just try and get over this because when I thought about it, I got like a anxiety attack, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I went in and I was able to go through the whole memory over again. I was able to create the memory that I wanted to, um, like the perfect experience. I was able to feel all of those needles, the epidurals, like heal up and close up and come out, which was really cool. Um,
Mhm.
it was just this crazy trip, and I remember getting out of the pod being like, "I'm gonna have to clear out this pot, like change the water, everything." And I was like, oh yeah, no, that was all internal. Everything
Yeah.
was fine. But
Mhm.
it was quite the trip, like the things that you can really get into when you're in there because you haven't it's just all in your head.
Are there times when a person shouldn't go into the pod?
Sometimes when people are on certain cancer treatments, they won't allow them to be in the pod because you're not supposed to be
Okay.
sharing that water. um
Okay.
if people aren't super mentally stable, and I mean like, you know, how do I say that? Yeah, I mean, I'll just say if they're not super mentally stable and they don't feel like they can be responsible for themselves in the pod, probably don't go in by yourself.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Other than that, and then, young kids who can't keep their hands out of their face, you don't want that water in your face. So
Yeah.
that would probably be about it. Or if you have dialysis that you're not under control, so you don't want to be absorbing all that magnesium because it could be a
Right.
harder to for your body to eliminate.
Right.
That's about it.
Because magnesium is best absorbed through the skin as well,
It's
to my knowledge.
Yeah, which helps with the
So there,
sleeping and the recovery. So
right. And yeah, that's there's I think you're getting that added benefit by getting the magnesium. And from what I've learned, magnesium is one of the more common deficiencies as well. So,
yeah,
interesting. Okay. Oh, there was a question I wanted to ask you, and it left me. Oh, you've had people of all age, like virtually all ages,
yeah,
use it.
yeah. I think the youngest we had was 7 or 8, and the
Okay.
oldest was like 90.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they just
Interesting.
either come in with a caregiver who can help them in and out, or I can just
Hmm.
go in and help them in and out.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha. So, is there any advice that you would give people who want to come in and try this for the first time?
just come in with an open mind. Your first time floating is going to just be an experience of what is going on and what's not going on. So
Okay.
don't drink a lot of caffeine, have a light meal. Um, there's it's really cool, I guess, fact that came out that said, like, if you're really, really stressed out when you're just like going and going and going and you just can't stop, it will
Hmm.
bring you down. It'll calm you down. So you can maintain that speed over a long period of time instead of just burning out really fast. And if you're at that really low part where you're just so exhausted, life is just like beating you down, you're exhausted, you just can't do anything else, it'll bring you up. So you'll have that energy to then keep going. So I kind of like to time those things on when you float. So if you are completely exhausted and you just can't keep going, come in the morning, right? So that way you have the energy to kind of like get through the day. You can eat some food, you can take care of yourself for the rest of the day, and then you can keep going at your regular speed. And if you're wound up so high and you're just like, well, I can't sleep, come in the evening. It'll get you perfect ready for bed, and then you can have a really good sleep, and you're going to be able to maintain that pace. So that's the kind of advice when you should come and float and what you should do.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Now, how can somebody book a float session with you?
Um, Call, text, book online.
Okay.
Yeah, all the
Okay.
ways.
Are there any price options or packages available?
Yeah, we have a 3 float pack and a 10 float pack, and those are both shareable. So we have people go
Okay.
up and get them for their whole family. The 10 pack, and the 3 pack is good for like a date night, and you want to come back for yourself. We also have single
Okay.
floats, and we do craniosacral therapy. I actually do that in the float pod, which is really amazing.
Oh,
Yeah,
so you're working together at that time. Okay.
yeah,
Interesting. I think that's all.
yeah.
I can't think of. Is there anything else you want to tell me about this?
I don't think so. Yeah.
We'll stop it there.
Okay.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast. This is what I learned from the podcast for myself and hopefully for my patients is that float therapy can benefit people who have problems with stress and anxiety, those who have difficulty sleeping. I also understand that it helps out with athletes for their recovery. So if any of these problems are things that you're dealing with, float therapy may be a great adjunct to help you get through some of these issues that you're dealing with.